What are some forbidden life hacks nobody knows about? Story 1. Last month, I discovered my new apartment had a massive hidden flaw. My landlord was a peeping Tom. At first, I thought I was losing my mind because I kept hearing faint creaks at weird hours. Then one night, I found a loose vent cover in the bathroom and a small camera inside. Instead of flipping out immediately, I got creative. I repositioned the camera so it faced the wall, wrote "Nice try, creep" on a sticky note, and slapped it on the lens. The next day, the landlord showed up for a routine inspection, sweating bullets. I played dumb, but after he left, I reported him to the police. Turns out, he'd been doing this for years. He got evicted from his own building and arrested. The kicker? His replacement landlord reduced my rent for the trauma. Story 2. A friend told me about this life hack where you can hack vending machines for free snacks. You know, tap the code 4321 or whatever. I tried it out on campus, and surprise, surprise, it didn't work. But the machine didn't reset properly, and all the snacks inside became stuck. I panicked, thinking I broke it, so I called maintenance. The janitor came over, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You're lucky. This one's old tech." He opened the machine, gave me all the stuck snacks, and told me to keep this between us. Story 3. At work, I found the ultimate boss-proof life hack. My boss constantly sent me emails at 11 p.m., expecting responses before 6 a.m. So, I created a rule in my email settings that delayed my replies by exactly 8 hours. He'd send a midnight rant, and I'd reply at 8 a.m. sharp. One day, he confronted me, saying, "How are you always on time but never early?" I just shrugged and said, "I prioritize sleep." Somehow, that earned me Employee of the Month for my balance. Irony, right? Story 4. In high school, my history teacher always gave us pop quizzes and bragged about how nobody could cheat. Challenge accepted. A friend and I realized he reused the same quizzes every year, so we tracked down his old students, collected all the quizzes, and created a master cheat sheet. By the time we graduated, the cheat sheet was so famous that even underclassmen were acing his tests. He never figured it out. The funniest part? He nominated me for Most Honest Student at Senior Awards. Story 5. I accidentally invented the perfect way to get free coffee. I was at my usual cafe, and they forgot my order. I waited 20 minutes before asking, "Hey, is my cappuccino ready?" The barista panicked, made it on the spot, and apologized profusely. I felt bad but didn't think much of it. Next time, same thing happened, but this time they gave me a free pastry as an apology. After the third time, I realized they just had a bad system and leaned into it. I started forgetting my order every visit and racked up free coffee and pastries for months. Edit. Someone from the cafe commented on my post. They fixed the system. RIP my free breakfast streak. Story 6. Last year, I discovered an ingenious hack to dodge paying for streaming services. My coworker kept talking about how her entire family shared one account, even though they all lived in different cities. So, I decided to try a spin on that. I joined a few local Facebook groups and found someone offering to share their login in exchange for splitting the cost. But I got sneaky. I used a prepaid card with only $1 on it. They gave me their login, and as soon as it worked, I ghosted. I felt bad. For about 5 minutes. Now, I've got access to 5 streaming services for free. If karma catches up, at least I'll have watched all my favorite shows. Story 7. My friend swore he knew how to get endless free samples at the mall. His trick? Walk in, pretend to be indecisive, and say, "I'm buying this for my partner, but I'm not sure if they'll like it. Can I take a sample?" I thought it was a one-time deal, but nope. He pulled this at the same store 3 weeks in a row. Inspired, I tried it myself with perfume samples. Not only did it work, but the sales associate even gave me a tiny gift bag with extras for my partner. The only problem? I don't have a partner. Now I smell like guilt and lavender. Story 8. I used to hate grocery shopping until I stumbled on the ultimate hack to save money. My local store had this price match policy, so I started photoshopping flyers from competing stores. I'd make it look like a bag of avocados was $1 when it was actually $4, and the cashier never questioned it. It got so ridiculous that once I price matched an entire cart of groceries for under $20. Eventually, I stopped when a new cashier squinted at my flyer and said, "Are you sure this is from last week?" I played it cool and said, "Oh, I must have grabbed the wrong one." Haven't gone back since. Story 9. I accidentally discovered a way to get out of paying for parking tickets. I got a ticket for parking in front of a fire hydrant, which, yeah, I deserved. But when I flipped the ticket over, I noticed a typo in the instructions. It said to send payments to City Hall, Upton 205. Seriously, an apartment? I thought it was a joke, so I called and no one could confirm the address. I ignored the ticket and it never showed up on my record. After that, I started accidentally writing checks with typos in the memo line whenever I got tickets. So far, I haven't paid a cent. Story 10. I found the weirdest hack for grocery stores. My store had this clearance cart where they dumped dented cans and damaged boxes for half off. I realized they didn't scan them properly. They just discounted the entire cart as miscellaneous. I started stacking the cart with items that weren't even dented or damaged, mixing them in to get half off everything. It worked perfectly for months until the manager noticed my perfectly fine boxes of cereal and called me out. Edit. Manager didn't ban me, but now they double-check every cart. R.I.P. my cheap groceries. Story 11. 11. I once stumbled upon a genius way to save on laundry costs. My apartment building has shared laundry machines that use tokens. The problem? Tokens are a ripoff. One day, out of desperation, I noticed the machine's token slot looked suspiciously similar to an old arcade coin slot. So I tested it with a washer from my toolbox. Same size, same weight. It worked. After that, I started using spare washers instead of tokens. I even shared the trick with a couple of neighbors. Everything was great until the landlord found a pile of coins in the machine's collector. Now, the machines only take preloaded cards. Guess my DIY days are over. Story 12. My office has this unwritten rule. The last person to leave turns off all the lights. I got sick of always being that person, so I came up with a hack. I rigged a smart plug to the office lights and connected it to my phone. At exactly 6 p.m., I'd turn off the lights remotely and leave early. Everyone thought it was some automatic system. One day, I forgot to disconnect the plug when I went on vacation. The lights shut off while people were still working, and they thought there was a power outage. Now they're installing real timers, and my hack is officially retired. Story 13. I discovered a wild loophole in my gym's guest pass policy. Members could bring a guest for free, but the same guest couldn't visit more than 3 times a month. My workaround? I rotated between 5 fake names, complete with phony IDs I printed online. The gym staff didn't even blink. They scanned the cards and waved me through every time. This scam ran smoothly for months until a new guy at the desk got curious and asked, "Do you have a twin? Because you look just like James, who was here yesterday." I had to retire my memberships after that. Story 14. I accidentally discovered a hack for free takeout. One night, I ordered delivery, but it arrived cold and missing items. Frustrated, I called customer service, and they immediately refunded me. But here's the kicker. They never asked for the food back. I ate my half-cold burger and got my money back. Over time, I noticed the refund process was way too lenient. I started ordering small items, claiming they were missing, and racking up credits for future meals. Eventually, I got greedy and tried it with a huge family order. That's when they flagged my account and banned me. Story 15. I found a loophole for free parking downtown. The meters let you pay by phone, but if you canceled the payment within a minute, the system would still register the spot as paid. I tried it once and parked all day for free. Over the next month, I used the trick every time I went downtown. It worked flawlessly until one day, a meter maid was standing right next to my car when I canceled the payment. She looked at me, then at her handheld device, and said, "Nice try. You're not the first." Edit. Got a $50 fine. Guess it was fun while it lasted. For chapter 16, my local library has this super strict rule about late fees. They charge 50 cents per day, no exceptions. One day, I found out they had a self-checkout system that let you renew items, even if they were already overdue. The system didn't track the time you renewed, so I started doing it the morning after a book was due. I avoided late fees for months. It became a habit until I got too bold and tried it with a bestseller everyone wanted. The librarian caught me and said, "You know, you're holding up the wait list." I had to cough up $15 in late fees and pretend I didn't know the policy. Story 17. I figured out how to get VIP concert tickets for free. A friend told me about this hack where you show up to the venue early, pretend you're with the press, and ask for a media pass. I thought he was messing with me, but I tried it anyway. I wore a fake lanyard, carried a notebook, and casually said, "I'm here to cover the event." They waved me through. I got front row access, free food, and even met the artist backstage. It worked 3 times before I got too cocky and tried it at a sold-out show. Security wasn't buying it. I left before they could ask too many questions. Story 18. I discovered a ridiculous way to save on airline tickets. A coworker told me about hidden city flights, where you book a cheaper ticket with a layover at your actual destination and skip the second leg. I tested it on a trip to Chicago, and it worked perfectly. The ticket was half the price. I got away with it for a while until one airline flagged my account. They sent me a warning email saying I'd violated their terms. Now, I have to book under a different name to avoid getting blacklisted. Story 19. I accidentally hacked my way into free car washes. My local gas station had a promotion. Spend $50 on gas and get a free wash. But I noticed the car wash code printed on the receipt worked multiple times if you entered it on the same day. I started saving up my codes and using them weeks later. The best part? I shared the codes with friends, and we all had sparkling clean cars for months. One day, the station upgraded their system, and the hack stopped working. Story 20. I found a sneaky way to get free movie snacks. My theater had a self-service kiosk where you could buy popcorn and soda without going to the register. I noticed the system didn't always print receipts unless you manually asked for one. So, I'd grab an empty popcorn bucket from a previous customer, fill it up, and walk out like I owned the place. It worked flawlessly until an employee asked me for my receipt. I pretended to search my pockets and said, "Oh no, I must have dropped it." He wasn't buying it. I left without my snacks and never tried again. Story 21. I discovered a loophole for free hotel breakfasts. Most hotels offer breakfast for their guests, but they rarely check if you're actually staying there. I started walking into random hotel lobbies, grabbing a plate and acting like I was rushing to a meeting. I'd nod at the staff, grab a muffin, and walk out like I belonged there. It worked flawlessly, until one day, an overly enthusiastic concierge asked for my room number. I froze and said, 314? He smiled and said, "Oh, that's under renovation." I bolted out, leaving my half-eaten bagel behind. Story 22. I figured out how to save on expensive restaurant meals. Some places offer free meals for birthdays, but they never verify the date. I started telling servers it was my birthday every time I went out. Cue free dessert, balloons, and even a few group sing-alongs. It worked great until I hit the same restaurant twice in a month. The manager walked over, confused, and said, "Weren't we just here for your birthday?" I mumbled something about having 2 birthdays a year and tipped extra out of guilt. Story 23. I accidentally hacked my way into getting free Amazon items. I bought a phone case, and when it arrived, it was the wrong color. I contacted customer service, and they told me to keep it as a courtesy while they sent the correct one. Realizing this was a thing, I started ordering small items and reporting issues like slight damage or wrong size. They refunded me or replaced the items every time. Eventually, I got greedy and tried it with a high-ticket item. That's when they flagged my account, and I had to swear off online shopping for a while. Story 24. I found the perfect hack to get free rides from rideshare apps. One day, a driver canceled my trip midway due to a technical error, but the app still charged me. When I reported it, They refunded me instantly and added a $10 credit. I realized this happened whenever a driver canceled or I claimed the ride was unsatisfactory. I used the trick sparingly to avoid suspicion, but one day I went too far. I claimed 3 refunds in a week and my account was flagged. They sent me a warning email and I had to behave for a while. Story 25. I discovered a sneaky way to get free drinks at coffee shops. I noticed that some chains offered free refills if you were a rewards member, but they didn't track how many you'd already had. I'd buy one small coffee, keep the cup, and refill it throughout the day. I even started bringing the same cup back on different days. Everything was fine until one barista recognized me and asked, "Didn't you have that cup yesterday?" I panicked, grabbed my coffee, and left before they could press further. Haven't tried it again since. On turn 26, I stumbled upon a way to get free furniture from big box stores. They have this policy where they'll refund damaged items, but don't always ask for them back. I ordered a coffee table, claimed it arrived scratched, and they gave me a full refund without asking for proof. Encouraged, I tried it with a bookshelf, and again, refund approved, no return needed. I had a fully furnished apartment for free. It all came crashing down when I pushed my luck with a couch. They requested photos, and I panicked, sending a random stock image of a scratched couch. They caught on, canceled my refund, and flagged my account. Guess I'm sticking to thrift stores now. Story 27. My friend taught me this wild hack to get out of paying for drinks at a bar. She'd order a cocktail, take a couple of sips, then complain to the bartender that it didn't taste right. 9 times out of 10, they'd replace it for free. I gave it a shot and ended up with 3 cocktails for the price of 1. The problem? I got greedy and pulled the same stunt with the same bartender on a busy night. He glared at me and said, "Lady, it's not the drink, it's your taste buds." Safe to say, I haven't been back since. Story 28. I found a loophole at my local movie theater. They offer free popcorn refills if you buy the large size, but they never actually check if you purchased it. I'd show up with an old large popcorn bucket I'd saved, hand it over at the counter, and get it filled for free. This went on for months until one employee noticed the bucket looked too worn. He asked for my receipt, and I faked a frantic, "I must have thrown it out" routine. He reluctantly let it slide, but now they stamp the buckets with the day's date. My free popcorn days are over. Story 29. I discovered a way to get discounts on food delivery apps. If your food arrives cold or late, most apps will refund you or give you credits if you report it. I started abusing this by waiting 15 minutes after the delivery time to report every order as late. It worked like magic. Free meals and credits stacked up. Eventually, one restaurant called me out, saying the driver had proof they delivered on time. I apologized profusely and stopped using the trick, for that app, at least. Story 30. I accidentally found a hack to get free event tickets. Many events have volunteer spots where you help out for a few hours and get free access. I signed up to volunteer at a local music festival, but bailed halfway through my shift once I got my wristband. I thought I was so clever until I ran into the coordinator, who remembered my face. She gave me a look that said, "Never again." Now, whenever I see volunteer spots, I feel too guilty to sign up. Story 31. I discovered a sneaky way to get free gym classes. My gym had a policy where your first group fitness class was free, no matter what. So, I started rotating between different locations, signing up with slightly altered versions of my name. Mike, Michael, Mick. You get the idea. It worked like a charm until one overly friendly instructor asked, "Weren't you just at our downtown location last week?" I played dumb, but she definitely knew. Now, I stick to YouTube workouts to avoid the awkwardness. Story 32. I figured out how to never pay for parking at my college campus. The enforcement officers used colored chalk to mark tires and check if you overstayed the time limit. Every morning, I'd wipe the chalk off before class. I went months without a single ticket, until one officer caught me in the act. He just shook his head and said, "Really? That's your plan?" I had to find a new parking spot after that because I was clearly on their radar. Story 33. My favorite coffee shop had a loyalty card system where every 10th drink was free. I realized they didn't track how many drinks you actually bought. They just punched the card. I started punching my own card at home and walked in like I owned the place, handing over completed cards for free drinks. It worked for months until I got greedy and brought in 3 completed cards in 1 week. The barista finally caught on, smiled, and said, "Nice try, but no." Story 34. I found a clever way to get free samples at grocery stores. Most stores have sample stations, but they're pretty strict about limiting you to 1. I'd go in, grab a sample, leave, then come back with a hat or different jacket and grab another. It worked beautifully until I got greedy and tried to hit the same station 4 times. The attendant looked me up and down and said, "You really like these crackers, huh?" I just laughed awkwardly and left. Story 35. I accidentally discovered a hack to save on utilities. My apartment building had a communal electricity meter for the laundry room, but the circuit box was labeled in a way that allowed individual apartments to connect to it. I hooked up my TV and fridge to the laundry room's power. My bills plummeted, and no one noticed for months. Then one day, the building manager called a meeting to address the unusually high laundry costs. I quietly unplugged everything that night and prayed they never checked my unit. Story 36. I figured out a way to get free dessert at fancy restaurants. My trick? Act like it's your anniversary or a special occasion. Every time I dined out, I'd casually mention to the server, "Oh, we're celebrating our anniversary tonight." 9 times out of 10, they'd surprise us with a complimentary dessert. One time, the server got overly excited and brought over the manager to congratulate us. I panicked and blurted, "It's our 5.5-month anniversary." The manager gave me the weirdest look, but hey, the dessert was still free. But 37. I found a hack to avoid speeding tickets. When driving through areas known for speed traps, I'd stick to the far right lane and stay just behind a faster car. My logic was simple. If anyone got caught, it would be them. This worked flawlessly, until one day I was tailing a car that suddenly slowed down, forcing me to pass them. The cop pulled me over instead. Lesson learned. Let someone else play the decoy, but don't get too close. Story 38. My local amusement park had a rule that you couldn't bring outside food, but they never actually checked inside reusable water bottles. I'd fill mine with soda, or even a milkshake, sneak it in, and avoid paying $10 for a drink. It became my go-to trick until one day I got caught when my bottle started leaking in my bag. The security guard gave me a knowing smile and said, "Nice try, but let me keep it." I was too embarrassed to try again. Story 39. I discovered a way to get free rides on public transit. My city's buses use a tap card system, but the card reader at the back door often glitched and didn't register the tap. I'd get on through the back, swipe my card for show, and ride for free. One day, a transit officer boarded to check fares. My card didn't show a recent tap, and I got a $50 fine. Turns out, looking confident doesn't work on everyone. Story 40. I found a loophole to get free fast food. Many chains let you fill out surveys for a free item, but they don't track who's filling them out. I started using different emails to do surveys for every visit. It worked like magic. Free burgers and fries every week. Then one day a manager asked, "How are you getting so many survey codes?" I shrugged and said, "I guess I just eat here a lot." He wasn't buying it, and now I avoid that location altogether. Story 41. I found a way to eat for free at buffet restaurants. Most places give you a wristband or stamp for unlimited trips, but one spot near me just handed out paper receipts to show you paid. I'd keep an old receipt in my wallet and flash it at the entrance whenever I wanted a free meal. This worked flawlessly until one day a new cashier actually checked the date. I stammered something about forgetting my new receipt in the car and bolted before they could call security. Story 42. I discovered a genius hack to avoid paying for textbooks in college. Instead of buying them, I'd borrow a copy from the library, scan the pages I needed, and return it the same day. Over time, I built a PDF library of every required book. My classmates caught on and started asking for copies. It was going great until a professor noticed identical page numbers in multiple assignments and asked, "Where's everyone getting these books?" I played dumb, but I'm pretty sure they knew. Gesture 43. My neighborhood had a strict towing policy, and my car was constantly getting ticketed. One day, I noticed that the tow trucks only operated from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. My hack: park illegally at 6:01 p.m. and move my car early the next morning. This worked for months until one night, a tow truck showed up after hours due to a special request. I had to sprint outside in pajamas to beg them not to take my car. Lesson learned: don't push your luck. Story 44. I figured out how to get free upgrades at hotels. I'd book the cheapest room and then call the front desk, pretending it was a special occasion, like my honeymoon or a big anniversary. Most of the time, they'd offer me a free upgrade. It was foolproof until one time, the clerk at a luxury hotel congratulated me in front of my actual partner, who had no idea about my fake story. Awkward silence followed, but hey, the suite was amazing. Story 45. I found a clever way to avoid paying for gym memberships. Many gyms offer free trials, and all you need is an email to sign up. I started rotating through every gym in my area, creating new email accounts for each trial. After a few months, I was running out of gyms, so I started cycling back with different names. It worked for a while until one gym owner recognized me and said, "How many brothers named Alex do you have?" I laughed it off and canceled that day's workout. Story 46. I discovered a hack to avoid paying delivery fees. A friend told me that if you call the restaurant directly, instead of ordering through an app, they often waive the delivery fee or throw in extra items. I tested it out, and not only did I save money, but one place even gave me a free drink. It worked great until one restaurant forgot my order entirely. When I called back, they acted like I had never placed it, and I ended up eating cereal for dinner. Still, I'd say it's a win overall. Swiss 47. I accidentally found a way to get free pet supplies. My local pet store has a satisfaction guaranteed return policy on everything, even if the product's been opened. My dog hated this expensive brand of food, so I returned it and got a refund. That gave me an idea. I started buying different foods, claiming my dog didn't like them, and returning them after using half. It worked until the manager asked, "How picky is your dog exactly?" I played it off, but I haven't been back since. Story 48. I hacked my way into free amusement park photos. You know those overpriced pictures they take on rides? Well, I'd wait by the photo kiosk and snap a quick picture of the screen with my phone. It was genius until one employee caught me and said, "If you want to steal, at least don't block the line." I was mortified and slinked away. Haven't done it since, but my friends still laugh about my great idea. Story 49. I found a sneaky way to get discounts at department stores. Most places have price match policies, so I'd bring in fake sales screenshots from other stores. They never checked the validity, and I saved a ton of money on clothes. One time, though, I got too bold and claimed a $100 coat was on sale for $20. The cashier called the manager, who said, "We'll need to verify this." I mumbled something about forgetting my wallet and left empty-handed. Story 50. I accidentally discovered a way to skip lines at theme parks. I noticed that people with broken arms or legs got special wristbands for express entry. So, when I sprained my ankle, I exaggerated my limp, rented a cheap medical boot online, and showed up at the park. They handed me the wristband without question. It worked so well I considered keeping the boot for future visits, but then my friend ratted me out to a park employee. That was an awkward conversation I won't forget anytime soon. 51. I found a way to get free car rentals on road trips. My hack? I'd volunteer to relocate rental cars for companies. They needed vehicles moved between cities, and instead of paying a driver, they'd let me use the car for free. It worked great until one company gave me a car with a busted air conditioner during the summer. I spent 8 hours sweating in the desert, and by the end, I decided cheap wasn't always worth it. Still, I'd do it again, with better planning. Story 52. I figured out a trick to get free phone upgrades. My carrier had a policy where they'd replace damaged phones if you had insurance, but they didn't ask for much proof. I accidentally dropped my phone, cracked the screen slightly, and filed the claim. They replaced it with a brand new model. I did this twice before they flagged my account and told me my insurance wouldn't cover suspicious damage. Guess I pushed my luck one too many times. Story 53. I discovered a way to save money on concert tickets. Instead of buying them directly, I'd wait until the day of the show and look for resellers who were desperate to offload tickets. Most of the time, I scored great seats for half the price. It worked beautifully until one time I bought a ticket from a sketchy website, only to find out it was fake. I missed the concert and learned my lesson about being too cheap. Story 54. I hacked my way into getting free upgrades on flights. Airlines sometimes overbook economy, and if you volunteer to give up your seat, they'll compensate you. I'd book flights during peak travel times, knowing my odds of being bumped were higher. On one trip, I got upgraded to first class and even received a travel voucher. My only regret? One time, I volunteered but ended up stuck in the airport for 12 hours. The voucher barely covered the food I had to buy while waiting. Story 55. I found a way to get free streaming services. Some platforms offer free trials, but they require a credit card. I'd use virtual cards that expire after a week, sign up, and enjoy the free trial without worrying about being charged. I rotated between different email addresses and virtual cards for months, until one service caught on and blocked my IP address. Now, I have to actually pay for my shows, which feels like a crime in itself. Story 56. I discovered a clever way to get free event swag. Conferences and expos always hand out freebies, but most require a badge to enter. My trick? I'd wait until the event was almost over and casually walk in with the crowd leaving. Nobody checked badges, and I'd scoop up leftover t-shirts, pens, and snacks like I belonged there. It worked until one time I got too excited and grabbed a staff-only tote bag. Security gave me a long stare, and I quietly put it back and walked out. Story 57. I hacked my way into free Uber rides. If you report a trip as unsatisfactory, due to things like the car being late or the driver taking a wrong route, they'll often issue a refund or a credit. I started using this sparingly, until I got greedy. After my 5th complaint in a month, my account was flagged, and customer service sent me a warning email. Now, I stick to public transport and avoid tempting fate. 58. I found a way to get free meals at restaurants. Many places offer coupons or gift cards if you sign up for their email newsletters. I created a dozen email addresses and signed up repeatedly, collecting freebie offers. It worked like a charm until one manager noticed my coupon had the same email address as another guest earlier that day. They still honored it, but I left before they could ask too many questions. Story 59. I discovered a way to snag free gym gear. My gym had a lost and found policy where items left for over a month were donated or discarded. I'd keep an eye on the pile and claim items I accidentally left there. I scored water bottles, gloves, and even a nice hoodie. This worked until one day, an actual owner confronted me, asking, "Isn't that my jacket?" I stammered, handed it over, and left without looking back. Story 60. I stumbled on a hack to get unlimited coffee refills at cafes. Many chains offer free refills if you drink in-store, so I'd buy one coffee, sit for hours, and keep refilling my cup. One day, I decided to test the limits by leaving with my cup and returning later to refill it. The barista caught me and said, "Refills don't count if you leave." I sheepishly paid for a new coffee and retired my little scheme. Story 61. I figured out how to get free parking at the mall. Most malls have valet parking, but they offer a grace period for pickups. My trick? I'd pull up to valet, ask for a ticket, and then leave without ever paying. I'd return hours later, show my ticket, and drive off as if I had just arrived. It worked perfectly until one valet asked, "Where's your payment receipt?" I stammered something about losing it, and he let me go, but the look he gave me made me retire the trick for good. Story 62. I accidentally discovered a way to get free drinks at airports. Most lounges let you in if you have certain credit cards, but I didn't. Instead, I'd find lounges that weren't too strict and confidently walk in, acting like I belonged. I'd grab a drink or two, maybe a snack, and leave before anyone asked questions. It worked flawlessly until one overly attentive attendant asked to scan my boarding pass. I smiled, said I'd left it in my bag, and walked out before things got awkward. Story 63. My local pizza place had a satisfaction guaranteed policy that promised a replacement if your order wasn't right. I started calling in minor complaints. Too much sauce, not enough cheese, etc. And they'd always send a free replacement. It was the perfect setup, until one day the manager answered, recognized my voice, and said, "Didn't we just replace an order for you last week?" I laughed nervously and hung up. Guess I'm ordering from somewhere else now. Story 64. I found a way to get free movie tickets. My local theater had a rewards program where points could be redeemed for tickets, but the system didn't track duplicate accounts. I created multiple accounts with different email addresses, racking up points by claiming surveys and promotions. It worked great until one day, the cashier scanned my ticket and said, "You've redeemed this already." I played dumb, but now I avoid that theater entirely. 65. I hacked my way into free flights. Airlines sometimes overbook, so they offer compensation if you volunteer to take a later flight. I'd book flights at peak times, knowing the odds of being bumped were high. One time I scored a free round-trip ticket and a hotel stay for a single delay. But then I got greedy and tried to game the system on a flight that wasn't overbooked. The gate agent caught on and gave me the side eye for trying to volunteer without being asked. Lesson learned. Story 66. I found a way to eat for free at fast food chains. Many places have mobile apps with first-time user deals, so I'd create multiple accounts with different emails. Every time I wanted a burger, I'd sign up again, grab the freebie, and walk out like nothing happened. It worked great until one cashier asked, "Weren't you here last week?" I laughed awkwardly and said, "I guess I just love this place. Haven't been back since, at least not to that location." Story 67. I accidentally discovered how to get free cable TV. My building had a shared cable box in the basement, and one day, I noticed a loose coaxial cable. On a whim, I connected it to my TV, and bam! Free cable. I watched for months, thinking I'd hacked the system. Then the building upgraded to digital boxes, and my screen went black. I didn't realize how hooked I was until I paid for a streaming service and felt the sting of actual costs. Story 68. I hacked my way into free theme park tickets. Most parks have a refund policy for rainouts, but they rarely confirm if you actually attended. I'd buy a cheap ticket, wait for a rainy day, and then claim I left early because of the weather. They'd issue me a free replacement ticket, which I'd use on a sunny day. It worked until one park started requiring proof of entry. Guess they wised up to people like me. Sator-san? 69. I figured out how to get free upgrades on car rentals. When booking, I'd always choose the smallest, cheapest car. At the counter, I'd casually mention, "I'm traveling for work, so I'll need something reliable." Most of the time, they'd upgrade me for free because they didn't have any economy cars left. This backfired once when the clerk called my bluff and said, "Oh, we just got a compact car returned." I ended up with the tiniest car imaginable, but hey, it was still cheap. Story 70. I found a way to get free snacks from vending machines. If an item got stuck, most machines had a refund policy, but instead of taking the refund, I'd try again for the same item. Sometimes it worked, and I'd get both the stuck snack and the new one. One day, though, a vending machine jammed so badly it ate my money twice. I called customer service and they said, "We've had complaints about this machine all week." Guess karma caught up with me. Story 71. I figured out how to get free pet grooming. My local pet store offered free grooming for new customers, so I'd call and book appointments under different names for my dog. I'd even use my friends' phone numbers to avoid suspicion. It worked for a while until one groomer looked at my dog and said, "Haven't we seen this little guy before?" I nervously laughed and said, "Oh, I must have brought his twin last time." They didn't buy it, and I had to start paying for grooming after that. To 72. I accidentally hacked my way into free online courses. Many learning platforms offer free trials, but they require a credit card. I started using virtual cards that would expire before the trial ended, so I wouldn't get charged. I bounced between platforms for months, taking whatever courses I wanted. Eventually, one platform caught on and sent me a warning email. Now, I actually pay for courses. Well, sometimes. Story 73. I found a clever way to get free photo prints. My local drugstore had an app where you could order free prints once a month, but they didn't check if you used the same account multiple times. I'd create new accounts, place orders, and pick them up like it was totally normal. This worked until one cashier asked, "How many accounts do you have?" I mumbled something about big family events and stopped using that store entirely. Story 74. I stumbled on a way to get free concert merch. Most bands sell their merch at booths, but they also have a separate stash for promotional giveaways. I'd hang around the booth near the end of the concert and casually ask, "Do you have any extras from the promo pile?" It worked twice, and I got free t-shirts both times. On my third try, the vendor just laughed and said, "Nice try, but no." Guess they caught on. Story 75. I discovered a way to get free makeup samples. High-end beauty stores let you test products, but they also give out samples if you ask nicely. I started visiting different stores, asking for the same products each time. I built up a whole collection without spending a dime. It worked perfectly, until one store manager recognized me and said, "Didn't we give you this sample last week?" I sheepishly walked out and started avoiding that location altogether. Story 76. I figured out how to get free drinks at hotel bars. Most hotels have a policy where if you charge drinks to your room, they don't verify until checkout. I'd sit at the bar, order a drink, and casually say, "Charge it to room 215. 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't even check if I was a guest. It worked great until one bartender said, "That room checked out this morning." I just smiled awkwardly and walked out, leaving the drink untouched. P77. I discovered a way to get free gym merchandise. My gym held monthly raffles for members, but you had to drop your name in a box to enter. I started writing down fake names and stuffing the box with them. It worked perfectly, until the gym manager announced one of my fake names as the winner. He looked around and said, "Is John Smith here?" I awkwardly stayed silent as they moved on to another name. I stopped rigging raffles after that. Story 78. I found a hack to get free office supplies. My company's supply closet was always unlocked, and no one kept track of inventory. I started taking pens, notebooks, and even printer paper home. It felt harmless until one day my manager joked, "I swear, this closet empties itself overnight." I played innocent, but I haven't taken anything since. Now I buy my own pens, most of the time, for 79. I stumbled upon a way to get free rides from rideshare apps. If you refer a new user, you get credit for a free ride. I made multiple accounts with different emails and referred myself over and over. It worked like magic until one account got flagged. The company sent me an email saying, "We've noticed unusual activity." I panicked, deleted all my accounts, and started taking the bus. Story 80. I hacked my way into free meals at buffets. Most places give you a wristband or stamp to show you paid, but one buffet near me didn't bother. I'd walk in, grab a plate, and blend in with the crowd. It worked flawlessly, until one manager caught me refilling my drink and asked, "Where's your receipt?" I pretended to look for it and left without finishing my meal. Haven't been back since. Story 81. I found a sneaky way to get free hotel toiletries. Many hotels restock your room daily, even if you haven't used everything. I'd gather up the shampoo, soap, and lotion every morning and hide them in my suitcase, so housekeeping would leave more. By the end of my trip, I'd have a stash of toiletries to last months. It worked great until one housekeeper caught on and left me a note. "You're very clean. Enjoy your souvenirs." I've never been more embarrassed. Story 82. I accidentally hacked my way into free gas. My local station had an app that offered rewards points for purchases, but I noticed a glitch. If you bought a $1 item, it gave you the same points as a full tank of gas. I started buying gum and racking up points for free fill-ups. It worked until the station updated the app, and suddenly my points disappeared. Karma, I guess. Story 83. I discovered a way to get free food samples at grocery stores. Many stores have a try before you buy policy, so I'd grab something like a bag of chips, eat half, and claim I didn't like it. They'd refund me without question. This worked until one day, the manager said, "You've returned chips every week. Maybe you just don't like chips." I had no comeback and left with my half-eaten bag. Toreto. I figured out how to get free access to paywalled news articles. Most sites let you read 1 or 2 articles for free before locking you out. I'd open the article in an incognito browser, read it, then close the window and reopen it again if I needed another article. It worked for years until one site started blocking incognito mode entirely. Now I have to read the headlines and guess the rest of the story. Story 85. I stumbled on a way to get free drinks at coffee shops. Some chains offer a free drink on your birthday, but they don't require ID. I'd walk in, casually mention it was my birthday, and get a free latte. This worked perfectly until one barista asked, "Didn't you say your birthday was last month at our other location?" I stammered something about celebrating late and haven't pulled that trick since. Story 86. I found a way to snag free event t-shirts. At charity runs or community fairs, they'd give out shirts to volunteers or participants. I'd walk up, pretend I'd already registered, and say, "Hey, I think I forgot to grab my shirt earlier." Most of the time, they'd hand one over without checking. It worked until one volunteer asked, "What's your bib number?" I panicked, muttered, "Oh, never mind," and left empty-handed. Story 87. I hacked my way into free haircuts. My local beauty school offers discounted cuts from students, but they also have free model slots for training days. I'd sign up and get a cut for nothing. One time, though, the student was so new that they accidentally shaved a chunk of my hair unevenly. The instructor fixed it, but now I pay for haircuts. It's safer that way. Story 88. I stumbled on a way to get free drinks at bars. I'd sit near a group celebrating something big and casually congratulate them. Usually, they'd offer me a drink, and I'd blend into the party for the night. It worked until one group realized I wasn't part of their circle and said, "Wait, who are you again?" I laughed, said I was just being friendly, and left before it got awkward. Story 89. I discovered a way to avoid paying for parking tickets. If you disputed the ticket online, there was a chance it'd get dismissed automatically due to backlog. I started contesting every ticket I got, claiming things like signage wasn't clear or meter malfunctioned. Most of the time, they'd waive the fine. Then one day, I got a letter saying, "Repeat contesting may result in court action." That was the end of my free parking streak. Story 90. I figured out how to get free gym guest passes. Many gyms let members bring a guest, so I'd show up with a friend who had a membership, claim to be their guest, and work out for free. One day, though, the front desk asked for my ID to verify my guest status. I panicked and said, "Oh, I forgot it at home." They let me in that time, but I haven't risked it again since. Story 91. I found a sneaky way to get free groceries. My local store had a scan-and-go app where you could bag your items as you shopped and pay at the end. I realized that if I scanned half my items and bagged the rest without scanning, nobody would notice. It worked until one day, an employee randomly checked my bags and said, "You forgot to scan these." I played dumb, paid for everything, and retired my little scheme. Story 92. I hacked my way into free Amazon Prime. They offer a free trial, and I'd keep creating new accounts with different email addresses to extend it. Every time one trial ended, I'd start another. This went on for over a year, until I forgot which email I used and got locked out of my actual account. Now I pay for Prime like everyone else, but I'm still bitter about it. Story 93. I discovered a trick to get free pizza. Many delivery chains have a policy where they'll replace your order if it's wrong. I'd call and claim my pizza was cold or had the wrong toppings, and they'd send a replacement. It worked like a charm until one manager said, "We've replaced your orders 3 times this month. Are you sure you're ordering from us?" I stammered and haven't tried it since. Story 94. I stumbled on a way to get free coffee refills at gas stations. Most places have refill discounts, but one chain didn't track if you'd bought the cup there. I'd bring in a reusable cup, fill it up, and walk out. This worked for months until a clerk asked, "Did you buy that here today?" I mumbled something about already paying, but the guilt made me stop doing it altogether. Story 95. I found a clever way to get free books. My library had a donation bin for used books, and I realized they didn't check who took books out of it. I'd drop off a couple of old paperbacks and then take a few donated ones for myself. It felt like a fair trade until one librarian asked, "Are you donating or just shopping?" I haven't touched the bin since. Story 96. I discovered a way to get free entry to museums. Many museums have pay-what-you-can days, but they rarely enforce the payment. I'd walk up, drop a quarter in the box, and stroll in like a paying visitor. It worked until one staff member said, "Are you sure that's all you can give?" I awkwardly smiled, mumbled something about being a student, and hurried inside. I haven't gone back on those days since. 97. I stumbled upon a way to get free gym water bottles. My gym sold branded bottles, but they also had a lost and found box. I'd accidentally leave my old water bottle in the box and come back a week later, claiming a new one as mine. It worked until the manager said, "We've noticed you lose a lot of bottles." I laughed it off, but the box suddenly disappeared after that. 98. I figured out how to get free concert seats. Many events don't fill up the cheap sections, so I'd buy a nosebleed ticket and wait until halfway through the show to sneak down to the better seats. It worked like magic until one usher asked to see my ticket. I played dumb and said, "Oh, I must have left it in my jacket." But they still made me go back to my original seat. Story 99. I found a sneaky way to get free snacks at work. My office had a communal snack drawer that was restocked weekly, but nobody kept track of who took what. I'd grab a few extra items and stash them in my desk. It worked great until one coworker joked, "Why does it feel like the snacks disappear faster than they arrive?" I laughed nervously and started bringing my own snacks to avoid suspicion. 100. I hacked my way into free drinks at airport lounges. Many lounges allow you to pay for entry, but I'd wait until a busy time, sneak in with a crowd, and grab a drink before anyone noticed. This worked flawlessly until one lounge attendant approached me and asked for my boarding pass. I stammered something about waiting for a friend and left without finishing my drink. Haven't tried it since. Story 101. I figured out how to get free refills at fast food places. Some chains let you refill your drink as long as you're inside, but I noticed they didn't check cups. I'd keep an old cup in my car, bring it in, and refill it every time I passed by. This worked until one day, an employee spotted the faded design on my cup and said, "You've been hanging on to that for a while, huh?" I awkwardly nodded and left without my refill. Story 102. I stumbled upon a way to get free software subscriptions. Many programs offer free trials, but they require an email address. I'd create burner emails, sign up, and keep rotating accounts. It worked for years until one service started blocking accounts with similar names. Now I just stick to open source software. It's less stressful. Story 103. I discovered a sneaky way to avoid paying for movie snacks. Most theaters let you bring in a sealed water bottle, so I'd fill one with soda instead. It worked flawlessly until the bottle started leaking in my bag. The usher gave me a knowing look, but didn't say anything. The embarrassment was enough to make me stop pulling that trick. Story 104. I found a way to get free clothes from online retailers. Some stores have overly generous return policies, letting you keep items that don't fit while still refunding you. I'd order multiple sizes, claim none of them fit, and end up with free clothes. It worked great until one store flagged my account for excessive returns. Now, I'm stuck actually paying for things like everyone else. Story 105. I hacked my way into free meals at food courts. Most places have sample stations, so I'd walk around pretending to be indecisive. grabbing samples from every vendor. Then I'd do another lap, acting like I was a new customer. This worked until one vendor laughed and said, "You must really love this chicken." I mumbled something about making a decision, and haven't gone back to that food court since. Story 106. I discovered a hack for free hotel breakfasts. If you walk into the breakfast area confidently, no one questions whether you're a guest. I'd grab a plate, enjoy a full meal, and leave without a second glance. It worked until one morning, a staff member asked for my room number. I panicked and said, 412? She smiled and said, "That's the staff break room." I left my plate and bolted. Story 107. I figured out a way to get free online streaming. Many services offer free trials, and I'd use a virtual private network to make it look like I was signing up from a new location each time. This worked until one service emailed me saying, "Your account has been flagged for suspicious activity." I panicked, deleted my account, and now I'm stuck actually paying for streaming. Story 108. I stumbled upon a way to get free rides on public transit. My city uses a tap card system, but I noticed the readers didn't always register if you tapped quickly. I'd swipe my card fast and ride for free. This worked until a transit officer stopped me to check my card history. When he saw it was blank, I had to play dumb and pay the fare on the spot. Lesson learned. Story 109. I found a trick to get free drinks at coffee shops. Many places give a free drink for downloading their app, so I'd create multiple accounts using different emails and claim my first drink over and over. This worked until one barista looked at my phone and said, "You sure you've never used this app before?" I laughed it off, but I haven't tried it again since. Story 110. I hacked my way into free workout classes. Many studios offer free trials for first-timers, so I'd sign up at different locations under fake names. It worked flawlessly until one instructor recognized me and said, "Haven't you been to our downtown studio?" I mumbled something about traveling for work and stopped going altogether out of sheer embarrassment. Story 111. I discovered a way to get free items at thrift stores. Many shops have a free bin for things they can't sell, and I'd casually browse it every week. One day, I noticed they'd accidentally placed a perfectly good jacket in the bin. I grabbed it, but as I was leaving, a staff member said, "That was a mistake. We were about to price it." I apologized, put it back, and haven't raided the free bin since. Story 112. I figured out a hack to get free food delivery. Many apps offer discounts for first-time orders, so I kept creating new accounts to claim the deals. It worked like a charm until one delivery driver recognized me and asked, "How many first orders have you made?" I laughed nervously, took my food, and decided it was time to start cooking at home. Story 113. I stumbled upon a way to get free drinks at fast food places. Most soda fountains are self-serve, so I'd bring an old cup, fill it up, and leave without paying. This worked until one manager noticed my faded cup and said, "We don't sell that design anymore." I pretended I'd brought it from home and left before he could ask more questions. Story 114. I found a clever way to avoid paying for parking meters. If you report a broken meter, most cities won't ticket you. I'd pick a meter that looks slightly off and call in a complaint before parking. It worked like magic until one day, an officer parked nearby and watched me fake the call. I left without parking and haven't pulled that stunt again. Story 115. I hacked my way into free museum tickets. Many museums offer free admission on specific days, but they don't always advertise it. I'd show up on those days pretending I didn't know about the policy and act surprised when they said it was free. This worked great until one staff member said, "We see you every free day, enjoy." I felt called out but kept going anyway. It's free art.